Top 10 ways coronavirus will change your life forever. Balance, antiquarian Walter Scheidel once stated, was just at any point delivered in sorrow. At this second, COVID-19 is moving through the world and the worldwide economy seems, by all accounts, to be crumbling. This, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is one of those seasons of distress, a period when our lives are overturned and loaded up with vulnerability. 10. Working from home. Before COVID-19, just 7% of American specialists had the alternative to work from home. That doesn't imply that 7% were telecommuting, it just implies that 93% of Americans were informed that it could never be an option. Today, telecommuting is a need. There are no hard insights on what number of individuals are working remotely around the globe, yet the organization Cisco has said that in China their video conferencing programming has been considering 22 to be as much traffic as it did before the outbreak. The world is occupied with a worldwide work from home test, and we're going to see direct exactly how supportable it is. There are as of now concentrates on this, and the outcomes are sure. One found that individuals telecommuting have 16.8 more days worth of profitability a year. Those considers have consistently been out there, yet on the off chance that businesses see the outcomes direct for themselves, there will be no denying that letting individua. 9. Universal basic income. A couple of months prior, widespread essential salary appeared to be an unrealistic fantasy. Sending each individual in a nation a month-to-month check, regardless of whether they don't go to work, was beginning to manifest on the out battlefield. However, in many nations, it didn't seem like anything we'd perceive whenever soon. But for the following hardly any months, it will be a reality. The United Kingdom has focused on paying 80% of its laborers' salaries, while Denmark has offered to pay upward to 90%. And even the United States is anticipating sending a $1 check to pretty much every grown-up American. None of these plans are actually equivalent to general fundamental pay, yet they're close. They're going to successfully beat trials on how these approaches truly influence society. It's too soon to state what the outcome will be. Finland attempted general fundamental pay in 2017 and 2018 and presumed that it left individuals cheerful. However, 8. Automation. One of the segments COVID-19 has hit the hardest is producing. Anybody working in a production line is a staggeringly predicament. Working remotely isn't an alternative when you work with your hands, yet for certain manufacturing plants, nor is staying home. But for alleged lights-out production lines that are worked altogether by robots, an illness isn't even a problem. Companies that utilization more robotization are now showing improvement over those that depend on packing human laborers into a firmly pressed factory, and organizations are beginning to take note. Hire Robotics, for instance, has said that they've seen a 25% expansion in requests in the previous 30 days alone. We can anticipate that a ton of assembling organizations should go to mechanization to endure, and a great deal of different organizations, too. China has just begun supplanting conveyance drivers with drones, and they're announcing that they're quicker and more secure than human workers. 7. Online learning. Schools are closing down in about each nation that is seen an episode of COVID-19, and that is driving guardians into instructors into a totally different period of education. For the following hardly any months, web-based learning will be the standard. Regardless of how well informed your instructor is, they will need to figure out how to make training digital. Based on early responses, it's improbable that we'll see broad selection of online instruction when this is finished. Criticism from educators up until now has been generally negative. The serious issue is that web-based learning mixes disadvantages. Children whose guardians don't have the opportunity to push them on their instruction fall further behind, while the individuals who can't manage the cost of WebGit are totally excluded. Still, each instructor on the planet is getting an intensive lesson in 21st century learning. They're ensured to return with thoughts that will change how our children learn. 6. The rise of big government. There are no libertarians in a pandemics, Meghan McCain as of late said. Whether that is something worth being thankful for or not is up to discuss. However fortunate or unfortunate, there's a ton of motivation to accept that it's actual. Around the globe, individuals have been grasping huge government since the time COVID-19 started to spread. Socialist strategies are being executed all around the globe, even in nations drove by preservationist and libertarian pioneers. The US government is anticipating burning through $1 trillion. Battling COVID-19, while the United Kingdom's Boris Johnson has said that there's no roof to the amount they'll spend. Big government's making a rebound, and in certain spots, it's in truly outrageous ways. The Israeli government has begun utilizing its KIN's mobile phone area information to distinguish everybody who has interacted with a tainted patient. 5. Voting by mail. On April 15, with a pandemic attacking their nation, the individuals of South Korea will need to arrange outside of stalls and cast their votes in the 2020 election. It will be a colossal issue, and the nation hasn't generally had the opportunity to respond. Up until this point, their answer is horrendous. They will expect voters to wear veils and dispensable gloves, and they're going to check everybody's temperatures previously permitting them to enter. It will be a calamity. We can depend on the voter turnout being appalling, and it will be a reminder for the remainder of the world. It's particularly going to influence the United States, where primaries are now in progress and a government political decision is planned for November. Americans will need to change their democratic guidelines this year, and we can anticipate that those progressions should be permanent. For the death of small businesses. A great deal of organizations are being hit hard at the present time, however no one as hard as bars and restaurants. France, Spain, Italy, Germany and the United Kingdom are only a couple of nations that have closed down all bars and restaurants, and in nations that haven't ordered it, scarcely any individuals are deciding to go out for drinks. For the following barely any months, these organizations and their workers will be deprived of any income stream that doesn't originate from the administration. A ton of them won't be ready to endure it. J.P. Morgan predicts that the normal independent venture might have the option to endure 27 days of this before going bankrupt. That's going to change the substance of our reality in light of the fact that, while a ton of nearby bars won't endure, the large organizations are going to persevere. 3. The end of reliance on China. COVID-19 couldn't come at a more regrettable energy for China. They were in a merciless exchange war, and COVID-19 has made things a great deal worse. Up as of recently, the world has depended on China as its assembling center point. They fabricate 20% of the world's goods, more than some other nation on earth, and they have a significantly greater job in human services. 90% of America's anti-infection agents originate from China. But as China has gone under isolate and has battled to keep up its pace, it's become progressively clear exactly that it is so perilous to depend on a solitary area to supply the world. The world is battling with a deficiency of ventilators and face veils, and it's simply not attainable to depend on China to deal with it all alone, particularly when they've been probably the hardest nation hit. 2. Free and universal health care. After the Spanish flu of 1918, nations around the globe, creator Loris Benitez, grasped the idea of associated medicine. It was one of the enduring effects of the last extraordinary worldwide pandemic. Individuals began to understand that the well-being of the poor influenced everybody, and the primary conversations that would prompt widespread medicinal services began.
There are just a bunch of nations that don't have all-inclusive social insurance today, and one created country, yet this could be the second that drives the remainder of the world into free healthcare. 41% of Americans as of now state that they are bound to help general human services in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, and arrangements appear to push that weight too.
The US has just swore to let individuals get tried for the coronavirus free of charge, and a few government officials are pushing to make treatment free as well. 1. A new political uprising. COVID-19 is hitting our well-being hard, however it's hitting our economy significantly harder. As indicated by investigators at J.P. Morgan Chase, there is no longer uncertainty. We presently feel that the COVID-19 stun will create a worldwide recession. A parcel of individuals will lose their positions. That investigator predicts that Americans will get jobless in the following not many weeks alone. Furthermore, before this is finished, it could be surprisingly more terrible. Another examiner accepts that, before this over, 7.4 million individuals in the relaxation and cordiality industry will be unemployed. It's poor people who will be hit hardest of all. While office laborers will be ready to work remotely from home, it'll generally be servers and distribution center specialists that endure this current pandemic. That will be excruciating, yet as Scheidel stated, fairness was just at any point delivered in sorrow.